こつけさせてもらうよ。
Jujutsu Kaisen is a new Shonen Jump Big Three's contender and one of the most amazing anime shows to come out in 2020. Under the stunning animation of MAPPA Studio, it sure turned out into a masterpiece. With the ideal characters, story, and pace, it is second to none in entertaining the viewers. We've even seen a recent debate on whether it'll become one of the shonen's big three, and with its successful adaptation, it might even be able to achieve it. If you've been watching Jujutsu Kaisen since the day it aired its first episode, you should know how intense and epic every episode has been. So, since you're craving more anime like Jujutsu Kaisen, we've made a list especially for you. On-Myaodu magic was once used by the Japanese in World War II, and instead of victory, it backfired on them. It is known as the Great Spiritual Disaster, and Onmyu Agency has been formed to exorcise the spirits that make their way into this world. Haratora, a person with no spiritual magic born in Tsuchimikado's branch family, On-Myaodu magic wielders, tries to live a normal life. But due to his promise of protecting Natsume, the heir of Tsuchimikado's family, he decides to try the forbidden method. Tokyo Ravens presents you with back-to-back action scenes just like Jujutsu Kaisen, and both depend on the abilities of sorcery. Both main characters resemble in personalities. The storyline is standard, and you wouldn't even know when you got into it. Although it has a few unnoticeable plot holes, you can still enjoy it to the fullest. So, if you're on a hunt for an amazing anime like Jujutsu Kaisen, then this one is for you. Kakashi's story follows Yoshimura Sumimura, an individual with a supernatural ability that can destroy evil creatures known as Akashi that cause trouble in the human realm from time to time. Well, he couldn't stop all of them on his own, can he? Of course not. His childhood friend and rival, Taken Yukimura, helps him with the battles. Without this teamwork, they might not stand a chance against the Akashi that attack in swarms. But are the Akashi only their enemies in this dark world? It is basically one epic anime like Jujutsu Kaisen in terms of both execution and plot. The concept alone deserves appreciation, and it definitely needs more recognition than it already has. Like how we witness cursed creatures getting exorcised by sorcerers in Jujutsu Kaisen, in this one, you'll get to see similar action. Except that they use the concept of curses in Jujutsu Kaisen, but here, just a different approach. So, if you haven't watched this anime yet, or passed over it after scrolling through a few negative reviews, then we firmly suggest you give it a try. It is definitely an astounding anime like Jujutsu Kaisen, and you're sure to have an exceptional watch. Asaya and Gehenna are two realms under the possession of humans and demons, respectively. To conquer the Asaya world, the Demon King needs a vessel, because they can't travel through the dimensions without possessing someone. Enter Rin Okumura, an ordinary teenager who later finds out that he is, in fact, the son of the Demon King who sent him to the world to become his vessel. Despite joining him, Rin decides to learn exorcism so that he can defend himself from the enemies. Truth be told, there aren't many similarities between Blue Exorcist and Jujutsu Kaisen except the concept of exorcism. Well, shouldn't that be enough? There are some intense moments in this anime that might not be on par with Jujutsu Kaisen, but still, are pretty good. Just like Itadori Yuji in Jujutsu Kaisen, Rin makes an excellent protagonist. The action scenes are amazing, and the animation is on point. So, if you're still thinking of passing over it, you might miss a great anime like Jujutsu Kaisen. Mirai Kuriyama is the only survivor from her clan who used to eliminate the spirits using their blood as a weapon. She continues on hunting down the spirits that evolve based on the negative human emotions. When she mistakenly stabs Akihito Kanbara thinking of him as a Yaomu, he reveals that he is an immortal being. Later on, they both form a bond of friendship, and the adventures of this couple begin here. Kyoto Animation made Beyond the Boundary anime, and in fact, it is one of the best works of the studio. It has some great action sequences along with typical humor. The setting of the story and the premise resembles Jujutsu Kaisen in some ways. If you're looking for an anime like Jujutsu Kaisen, then Beyond the Boundary is one of the best choices you can make. Well, What are you waiting for? Go and watch this visual gem. When we think of urban fantasy anime, Norigami is the first one that comes to mind. It's all about Shinto gods who live just out of sight from mortals in modern Japan, granting wishes and making contracts with the recently deceased to protect them from monsters that prey on souls. Yato is one such god, but he's so obscure and difficult to get along with that he's in danger of fading away if mortals don't start worshipping him soon. He quickly befriends a human girl named Yuyori and a wandering soul named Yukon, who form a sort of love-hate relationship with him at first until they begin to understand one another better. Its stylish action sequences and expert balancing of comedy and drama likely inspired similar moments in Jujutsu Kaisen, so it's well worth checking out. We're going pretty far back into the Shonen Jump catalog now, but before Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer, there was the juggernaut known only as Bleach. It's had its ups and downs over the years, but at least the first few arcs are bursting with creativity and intriguing character interactions that will draw you in from the very first episode. Ichigo Kurosaki is a rough and tumble delinquent turned substitute soul reaper who does his best to acclimate to his new job of fighting hollows while hiding his injured predecessor from his family and trying to survive high school. Yuji's story seems to be a more polished version of Bleach without as much filler or power escalation, but if you're interested in anime history and have a lot of free time on your hands, give this classic anime a watch. Mob Psycho 100 is the kind of anime that surprises you with how good it is, since it seems unassuming at first with its simplistic art style and relatively mundane setting. But make no mistake, this anime is one of the best written and animated shows of the 2010s, easily standing up to flashier titles like Jujutsu Kaisen. It stars Shigeo Kageyama, nicknamed Mob for his generic appearance, an unconfident teen who has to suppress his emotions in order to control his unparalleled psychic power. He just wants to live a normal life, but supernatural forces conspire to push him to his limits, and there's no telling what will happen when he truly lets loose. Yuji and Mob would probably get along if Mob could manage to keep up with Yuji's hyperactive shounen boy energy, because they both believe that they shouldn't rely on raw power to carry them through their struggles. But if they ever faced an impossible obstacle together, we bet it wouldn't stay impossible for long. Loved Jujutsu Kaisen, but wish it catered a bit more to the Hot Topic crowd? Then you're in luck, because Tokyo Ghoul is exactly that. If somehow you haven't already heard of this anime, it's set in an alternate version of Tokyo, where flesh-eating ghouls blend into normal society and feast on humans in secret. Bookish nerd Kaneki is turned into a ghoul against his will after receiving an organ transplant from one, and he finds himself forced to integrate into their world when he can no longer eat normal food to survive. It has a darker tone than Jujutsu Kaisen, especially in the anime-only second season Tokyo Ghoul, but both shows have a supernatural atmosphere, and their protagonists both struggle against the baser instincts that lurk inside of them. Plus, the soundtrack is absolute fire from start to finish. Shonen Jump previous newest darling before Jujutsu Kaisen was Demon Slayer, a still hugely popular shonen franchise with a similar premise to Yuji's story, but with a very different execution. During the Taisho era, 1910s-1920s, Tanjiro Kamado lives a quiet life in rural Japan until a legendary demon kills his entire family and turns his younger sister Nezuko into a bloodthirsty demon for good measure. Tanjiro joins the Demon Slayer Corps so he can protect others from the same fate and hopefully find a way to turn Nezuko back to normal, gaining new allies and enemies along the way as he matures into a seasoned warrior. Tanjiro is much more level-headed than Yuji, but shares the same philosophy that everyone deserves a proper death, no matter who they are. Plus, Demon Slayer is another anime with god-tier animation, this time from Ufotable, so Sakuga enthusiasts will love it. Jujutsu Kaisen shares the same studio and lead director as summer 2020's The God of High School, a webtoon anime adaptation that had absolutely outstanding animation but ultimately fell short of genius because its story was rushed beyond belief. Luckily, Jujutsu Kaisen has twice as many episodes, so it shouldn't suffer the same fate. That doesn't mean that The God of High School isn't worth watching, though. It's a high-octane action with a capital A anime about a martial arts tournament with a dark secret, and also everyone develops stand-like superpowers about halfway through. The plot doesn't really matter, but its main trio develops a similar dynamic to Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara as they fight their way through the ranks and unearth their own powers. It's not exactly the most engaging story ever written, but The God of High School is a certified good time that any Jujutsu Kaisen fan will enjoy. So there are pics of anime similar to Jujutsu Kaisen. Let me know your favorite anime down below in the comments and make sure to like the video if you enjoy it. That's it for today, anime fans, and I'll see you in the next video.